I'm pretty sick right now, so my voice is a little weird, and I have a really bad cough, so hopefully I don't cough too much in this video. Parasite is directed by Bong Joon-ho, who also directed Snowpiercer and Okja.
Yeah, and this movie stars, I'm very sorry, I'm probably going to mess up these names, I hope I don't mess them up too bad. Kang Ho Song, Yeo Jeong Jo, So Dam Park, and Woo Sik Chow, I think.
I saw this movie a couple weeks ago while I was in Chicago. I'd heard a lot of good things about it over the summer because I think it was at the Cannes Film Festival, and I haven't seen all of Bong Joon-ho's movies, but I really liked Snowpiercer and I really liked Okja, so I was curious to see this one, and I honestly love the movie. It's one of my favorites of the year.
It is a foreign film, so I don't really know much about the director, other than, I know the director made movies like Snowpiercer and Okja, but this is the only movie I've seen by him. And honestly, this movie really has some fantastic directing on this part, and like there's really great cinematography that really makes you feel just the feelings that like these characters are feeling at the time.
I really love how in a way, like all the members of the poor family kind of mirror the members of the rich family, and how they're both like kind of opposites of each other, but they also have some similarities. And I'm not gonna even like try to pronounce his name, but the guy who plays the dad of the poor family, I thought he was my favorite character. I thought he you could tell that like it was a very believable family unit. You know, it felt like this is like an actual family, and like the in jokes and like how close they were and how they were like at the beginning of the movie where they're all like working together to make pizza boxes.
Oh yeah.
And then like how they use like the same sort of skills to like work together later on in the movie. It's like it almost felt like a heist movie in a way, like the way that they're like pulling off this sort of scheme.
Yeah, this movie, I will say, like whenever I first walked out of it, I liked it, but like I walked out of it thinking like I don't really know how I felt about this movie. But as I came out of it, and as I'm sitting here now, I start realizing how good this movie actually really is. Because overall, like I said, it is a comedy, and even though it is a comedy, it really feels like realistic comedy, you know? And all of it feels real. And there does get to be a point where like, it kind of completely shifts tones at a certain point in the movie, you know? And it almost, whenever I saw the movie, because of how different the tone was in my head, my mind was like, well, this is out of nowhere. But really, as I'm thinking about it now, they really did kind of nicely go into that tonal change.
Yeah, and I do want to bring up one of the probably the biggest negative I have for the movie, but it's gonna lead into one of the biggest positives I have for the movie. It's kind of weird, but for most of the movie, like we've talked about, it was kind of more of a comedy. And I'm not gonna say it's like a huge negative or it took off a whole bunch from the movie for me, but just story wise and plot wise, it felt like just like an episode of like a TV show with them trying to infiltrate this family kind of, and get this job pretending to be somebody who they're not kind of. But at a certain point towards the end, towards the third act, they introduced something, an element to the story that I felt really added a lot to the movie. And like you said, it switched tones pretty dramatically when they added this new element to the movie. I feel like they handled the switch in tones really well.
Yeah, and also it was a surprising aspect of the film, but it wasn't just like oh, here's something surprising, you know.
Yeah,
right.
Man, this will get me some nice little reviews because it's surprising. No, it was actually there, and like I said, whenever I sat there and watched it, these were actually things that were in my head. I was thinking like, oh, there's something surprising, you know, or there's a random tonal shift. like I'm saying, it once I let it settle, you know, and once I just sat here and thought about it, I was like, you know what, it was surprising, but it was a nice surprise, and it also fit well with what the movie was going for about just class relations, you know, and just you know, like the poor and rich, and it really fit well with that theme.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, without saying what it is, there's kind of like I'd say it's a pretty big twist that happens a good like maybe hour or so into the movie, and like the way it's revealed is extremely just well done. I think it's all done in like one continuous long take, which is really impressive, and it's, without saying what it is, it kind of runs the risk of being like extremely cheesy or extremely like obvious and like sort of parodying what class relations are like, but it's done very realistically, and you really I think this movie does a really good job at balancing, like, obviously these characters, like the main family, they're poor and you feel bad for them, but they're also, you know, doing kind of terrible things. But at the same time, you almost hate the rich family. I think you hate the rich family more because they're so, like, ignorant about everything. Like, they don't know what's going on, and they're so used to, like, you know, just expecting everybody to, like, bow down before them.
Yeah, exactly. And there's times whenever the rich family, you actually like them, but every once in a while they'll do something, you're like, oh man, they're it's actually showing their true colors. You know?
Yeah, and that's one of the greatest things about this movie is, like, these characters feel like actual people.
Yeah.
They don't feel like exaggerated aspects of their life. It's not exaggerated to make you feel one way or another.
Yeah.
They just feel like people who have flaws and who have good aspects about them. At the same time.
Yeah, exactly. There's not really a good or a bad guy in this movie. It's just people who think they are good and people who think they're doing right, but they have flaws. Pretty much.
And I really like that the rich family, it's like, it's not even that they're trying to be, like, evil or whatever. It's just like they're so used to everybody, you know, treating them like they're, like, gods, that, like, the way they treat other people as, like, lesser, it's almost just like they're so used to it. So it's not like they're treating this other family horribly because they want to. It's just like that's how they're used to treating everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that was, like, instead of making them sort of these, like, cartoony, like, villains, it's like, like you said, it's a very realistic take on it.
Overall, if I had to pick one flaw, in my opinion, I felt like there were one or two scenes that could have been shortened down a little bit, but I never felt like any of the scenes were bad or necessarily dragged. I just felt like overall I did feel the time in this movie a little bit.
I would say, like, another big positive for me is just, like, the production design, because I think the design of the house is, like, really was really impressive. And it's almost like one of those things, like, when you watch, like, a sitcom for a very long time and you just feel like you know where everything is in the house, like in the apartment or whatever. I felt like that, but obviously instead of developing that over, like, multiple seasons of a show, you understand where everything is in the house very quickly. And it was very, like, it's very sleek and almost, like, futuristic the way it's designed.
Yeah, and one surprising thing for me, like, I don't know if it was just me being dumb, but I didn't really realize until thinking about it after that most of this movie takes place in the house.
Yeah.
In one place.
They
They make the house so elaborate.
Yeah.
And there's so many settings in the house that it felt like it didn't feel like it was just claustrophobic in one space.
And as I've seen some people say, this movie does a good job at making the house almost a character of its own.
Yeah, because I want to say I read that Bong Joon-ho and, like, his, like, production team, they designed the house and, like, built it themselves. So it wasn't, like, a previously existing thing, and so they designed it very clearly to, like, make sure all those scenes worked. And just the way that, like, some of the stuff is, like, lit, like, there's a certain scene where, like, there's part of the house that's, like, shot in shadow that's, like, very important for, like, a character trying to, like, hide in one point. It's very well designed.
Yeah, they do a really good job at putting things in frame that you don't really it's not, like, in your face in frame, but it's in the frame. Everything that's in the frame is in the frame for a reason.
Yeah, so I definitely say Parasite is one of the best movies I've seen this year. It was, like we've been saying, it's incredibly funny, and it's shocking in a way that, like, all the twists pay off. Great acting throughout. Every single actor in this movie did a great job, and, like, both families felt very realistic. And yeah, I think it's rare for a movie that's, like, it keeps being able to surprise me, but not in, like, a dumb way, you know? And it keeps surprising me, and each, like, surprise pays off. So I'm gonna say that Parasite is 99% awesome.
Yeah, guys, overall, I had one very small flaw. And like I said, if you go into this movie and you watch it and you're sitting down and you're like, oh, what was that? That was out of nowhere. Give it time. Let it settle. That's what happened with me, and I love this movie. This movie, it really does a good job at having very natural undertones to it and very natural messages, but having a straightforward plot line. And at the same time, I really do think people could watch this movie and not get completely different, like, views on what it means, but, like, just have, like, a discussion about what they think it means, and maybe it's a little bit different. And that's really cool to have that kind of thing where there's maybe two meanings, but it have a completely straightforward plot line. I'm gonna say that Parasite is 90% awesome.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I did only have one really big issue, which it wasn't really that big of an issue with the whole like feeling of a TV episode in the first like 2/3 of the movie. But at the same time, that section was still a really enjoyable section to watch, and it still had the themes that were spread out through the entire movie. But this movie overall just handled tone very well. It handled subliminal messages, not really subliminal messages, but really themes that aren't in your face. And overall, it's just a really masterfully crafted movie. I'm gonna say that Parasite is 90% awesome.
Well, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, comment and let us know what you thought about Parasite. What do you think maybe the movie meant? Do you just kind of go into little details? Just be careful about spoilers. If you do, just make sure you put spoiler ahead of that. Also, I want to hand things over to our friend Liam over here. He's been on our channel a few times, but we're gonna go ahead and let him talk about himself for a second.
Oh yeah, talk about myself.
Sorry, I never told you, I never warned you about this.
No, it's cool. Yeah, well, like I said, it's always fun to like hang out with these guys and do reviews. I have a blog. It's liammgaughan.wordpress.com. I do movie reviews and stuff. I've been doing it for a while. So if you want to check out that, I usually do have a couple reviews out every week.
Yeah, go ahead.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at 2 Awesome Men.
And as always, thank you so much for watching, and you will see us later.